Okay, we are here with Vanessa, one of my past clients, and she has a beautiful story that I want her to share with all of you, and we'll get into that. But firstly, Vanessa, I would love for you to introduce yourself and just let us know who you are, where you are, what you do, just a little background.
Awesome. Yeah, so my name is Vanessa. I'm currently living in Madrid, Spain. I've been in Spain for about 3 months now, so very new. Everything's very fresh in terms of like new surroundings, new country, things like that. Currently living in Spain. I'm currently teaching English in Madrid, which is something that's new for me. I would describe myself as I guess in interviews, I'm a very multifaceted professional. So I'm working in a sort of like a wide variety of areas right now. I'm teaching English. I also work online. I do a lot of online operations work. I also have a travel brand that I do. I want to inspire people to travel and experience more things. So that's what keeps me busy these days, and really just like learning a new culture, a new country, new language, things like that. Everything's very new right now.
Amazing, amazing. So, something that I love about you, Vanessa, and why I wanted to share your story with my community is because you are someone who I'm just so inspired by your journey and your story, and I'd love for you to share kind of where you were when we first started talking, right? And you decided to lean into coaching. Like, what were you feeling? What experiences were you having? Um, yeah, where were you at?
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking about this is actually really fun because reflecting back on where I was, I guess it was about a year ago. I think it was like around May when we
Yeah.
first spoke, May 2025. So yeah, last year when we first met, I was very confused and very, I'd say, not as empowered as I feel today.
Mhm.
I had recently been laid off from a job. I had worked for this company for I think about maybe 2, 3 years, maybe longer. I can't even remember now. It's crazy. A few years. And the company, it was a startup company. The company closed down. And I was in a place where I really knew that I didn't want to go back to what I had been doing. I didn't want to like fully jump 100% back into corporate America. The last sort of like 5, 6 years of that experience have been really tumultuous for me. So I was very confused because I knew where I didn't want to go back to, but I didn't really have the confidence in myself to step outside of like the typical 9 to 5 career path and to step outside of what I had been doing. So I was very conflicted because I knew in my heart and my body and just in like what I had been doing that I couldn't go back and do that anymore. But I didn't have, the confidence or like really a clear vision. I think I was still looking for someone else to tell me that you can do this or you can do that, or that it was okay to pursue the things I wanted to pursue. And so yeah, I was very, very like looking for answers, not sure where I was headed, knowing I needed to do something different, but just not like confident enough to take that first step.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I hear that a lot with women, right? Where, in our community, right, in this community, that it's like I knew there's something more for me, and I wasn't sure how to get there, or even that it was okay to want more. I think so
Hmm.
often, just in our Western culture, people are telling us what is safe to do and what is not safe to step into, or are you sure that you want to do that? And that's something that I love so much about you is there is a part of you that knew there was more available, which is why you stepped in to coaching, right? Which is why you said, you know what? If I can get some support, if I can tap into some resources around me, I know I can get there, right? And so I think it's
Yes.
always interesting, we talk about these pieces of ourselves. It's like we didn't have the confidence or we needed someone else to tell us. And like your yes to leaning into coaching, like there was a part of you, however small or large, that knew you could do it, right? And did have that belief in you. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about that experience for you of like why did you say yes to coaching? And like me reflecting that back to you, what do you hear about within yourself that's like, oh yeah, there was a little part of me that was like, I could do this with little support.
Yeah. Yeah, hearing you say that, I think you just said the word, I don't know if you said, oh, I think you said permission.
Yeah.
And that was exactly where I was too. I felt a lot of guilt, sort of, because I'm like, well, I have the opportunity to do this and I can go get another job. And I felt sort of like asking myself, well, why do I think I don't even know if it's deserve. I don't even know if I was using that word, but that's what comes to mind now. Like, well, why do I think I deserve this? Or like, what makes me, millions of people are doing this. So why should
Mhm.
I be the one to do this, to do something different? So yeah, I think I had a lot of like, I had to give myself permission to do it. I think one of the reasons, like a little bit of reason why I stepped into it is because I saw other women doing it, so I'm like, it's possible.
Mhm.
I had actually I work as a virtual assistant, and I had actually worked for a coach a few years ago. And that was my first like sort of entry into like this whole world. And I really respected the work that she did with the women she worked with. But even when I was working for her, I think I was telling myself like, well, this is for like other women, or this is for women who are like more, more senior in their careers, or they've done more than me. I just kept making excuses for like why I wasn't someone who could just take a different step and like fit that mold. Um,
Yeah.
but I think, yeah, having just been exposed to another coach that I really respected, and then just seeing other people around me like living lives that whether or not they had worked with coaches before, were
Mhm.
living lives that I was like, oh, that sounds really awesome, or like living lives that are just outside of the conventional
Yeah.
9 to 5. And I don't mean to like talk bad about 9 to 5s. That's not what I mean. I just mean like stepping outside of like the traditional like corporate path that I think a lot of
Right.
us are, taught that that's the way we have to go. So yeah, I definitely was inspired by other people, seeing other people. Um, live like authentic lives, and I felt that what I was doing was not authentic. That's a really big part. I knew that it wasn't like
Yeah.
what I really wanted to do. And I think a lot of people are in that boat, but I just like there was 5 people I saw that were living authentic lives, and I was like, okay, well, that's what I want to do. So even just
Yeah.
seeing a small group of people doing it, I was like, okay, well, I guess one day I was just like, why not me? Like, why not me? Why not, just take a chance and and see what this, like working with the coach isn't all or nothing either. Like I think
Yeah.
I got into it and I was like, okay, well, this could be really great. Like who, just like let me just take a chance on it. If it wasn't really great, it would have been okay. You know what I'm saying? Like I still would
Yeah.
have been me. I still would have been okay. I wouldn't have been going backwards. So I
Totally.
think just like, yeah, one day I just maybe had some like, a little bit of optimism and was like, let's just like take a chance and let's see how this goes. And fortunately it was like it was amazing for me. So I'm so
Yeah.
happy I did it. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. And I think something that I really want to pull out of what you said and just reflect to everyone, and just celebrate you for is that it's it's one, recognizing that like other people are doing it and why not me, right?
Mhm.
Everybody gets to and deserves to like find a path that really feels aligned for them. And for some people, it might look like what you're doing. For some people, it might look like the 9 to 5, like dream corporate job they've always
Yeah.
wanted, right? Everybody's ideal looks different to them. And so I think it's about giving people permission and recognizing that they get to lean into whatever feels right for them. And if they have
Yeah.
this feeling or desire or calling, that's not wrong, right? Like that is
Yeah.
your body, your soul, whatever you want to call it, your nervous system letting you know that there is something available that would feel better for you, where you could be happier, more aligned, living a life that feels fulfilling and that you can thrive in. And so I think listening to that inclination of like, is more available? I feel like there is, right? Like that's just your truth talking. Right?
Yeah.
And the part of you that knows that there is something that is accessible to you that you're not accessing right now. So I think that's so important for people to listen to that voice and not try and shy away from it, right? Because if you
Yeah.
had, you wouldn't be where you are today, right? So
So true.
I'd love for you to share, like, where are you today? I know you leaned into that a little bit, right? Like, you moved to a different country, you're living in Spain, you're feeling more empowered. What became accessible to you through our work together?
Wow. You know, trusting myself, like just having faith in myself and my decisions and knowing that if I make this decision, like I guess I just, I will be okay. Like regardless, like I will be okay. I have enough trust in myself and I built enough trust, like, yeah, with myself to know that if I get myself into something, if it doesn't work out, I can do something else. I can pivot to something else. Or and if it does work out, I feel like I guess, yeah, just as long as I keep moving forward, it doesn't even have to be like up, but just like I just keep moving, whether or not it's lateral or up and down. I really built that trust with myself. Well, it's funny because even when we first started working together, I had gotten accepted into the position maybe like I think the week before our work we started
Mhm.
working together, and I wasn't going to do it. I was like, okay, I can't
Mm.
do it. Like I just was thinking about the position and the money and my responsibilities at home and like I had a dog and I just was like, okay, I had even gotten accepted and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And yes, that was like an immediate thing that sort of just like clicked for me was like, wait, why can't I do it? Like, what was I even telling myself? It was a lot of fears. It was like the fears
Yeah.
were in front. And yeah, just something clicked and I was like, I trust myself enough to take this step because I know that it sounds like super cheesy, but like everything is going to be okay. Things will work out. Even if I
Yeah.
don't love Spain, I can go somewhere else. And if I do love Spain, then I can still go somewhere else. Like
Yeah.
there's really like no limitations. But yeah, it was, I love telling that story because when we first, it was like such a clear switch in my mind. Like when we first
Hmm.
were working, I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then I don't know, one of the sessions we had one week, I was like, wait, like maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Amazing, amazing. And I think I really hear from the story that you shared already, it's like you moved from needing permission outside of yourself to building
yeah.
that self-trust internally that like you're resourceful, you are capable, you are a problem solver, like you will figure things out. And the more you take action, I think I remember us having a conversation about this. It's like the more you take action, the more information you get to take the next informed action, right? So instead of freezing or like waiting to figure out if it's right, right? Like leaning into action and opportunity that's in front of you and just using that as feedback for what feels more aligned and what doesn't feel more aligned, and then continuing to take action from there.
Yes, yes, that's exactly it. Like I just had to start, and then as you start, the answers come. And I don't have to know everything. Like I think I thought I had to have the whole plan mapped out when I first was starting, and that's just not what it's been at all. It's been like each day I'm like, oh, okay, learning something different. I'm learning something different, learning more about myself. But yeah, just starting is like maybe the hardest part, but it's like the part that then just gives you all the answers. Like it's just each step you take, more and more comes back.
Amazing. And yeah, and as you take more steps, like the more self-trust you build, because
Yeah,
you create safety in every step and feedback loop that you get.
yeah,
And then it's like, oh, I'm just continuing to build this self-trust and this self-confidence, recognizing my resource and my capabilities and what is available to me. So it's so great because I feel like I see this all the time, right? We're constantly perpetuating chipping away at self-trust or chipping away at self-confidence, and you've now flipped that to be like,
mhm,
actually, now I'm practicing how do I build self-trust? How do I build self-confidence in how I move through the world, which is so beautiful and so amazing and so inspiring. So I love that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I'd love to hear kind of if there's anything that stood out from the work that we did together, anything that maybe you hadn't experienced in, coaching or therapy or like other modalities that you had tapped into or heard before. Um, is it something that you expected or didn't expect? I know sometimes people will say, I had no idea what we were getting into. And then I was like pleasantly surprised at what came out. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what your experience of working the kind of work we do together.
Yeah. Yes, I have the most clear answer too. So, when we started working together, I thought into it for, my career and like just my life and like my next steps, like what I was doing with my career. And during the process, I was having a lot of difficulties with a relationship with a family member of mine. And so this sort of just all came about. And I remember we were talking about I'm gonna say the name wrong, so I don't even want to say it, but maybe you'll think of it when I explain. But just like changing your
Hmm.
mind about things, and like having compassion towards other people,
Hmm.
and it literally like solved my relationship with my grandma. We were in a really difficult spot, and I think just the realization that in my mind, it was like twofold. Like one, just the compassion for other people, like really
Yeah.
recognizing that we're all trying our best. Like some of us are trying our best, and we got to be how we are because of what we've been through. So like really having like compassion for other people, compassion for myself too, and other people. And then also just the ability, like you can change your mind about anything. That is just mind blowing to me and like so freeing. And when we did that work together, I was like, wow, I never had been exposed to that type of work or that type of like language before, but it really is like it just blew my mind open so much about how like our patterns, what we think, our immediate responses, our opinions, like we can change them. We can change our mind about things. And
Yeah.
that's so powerful. And it's like I want to, now that I'm talking about it, I want to like dive into it even more, like just that whole thing, because
Yeah.
it's been a few months. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was like so surprising to me. I wasn't going into it expecting to like talk about like relationships or family at all. I had like a mindset of like this is for work.
Right.
But that part of it was like so incredible, and it's something that I've like yeah, I've tried to like share with other people, like my friends too, and I'm just like you guys, we can change our mind. Like you don't have to think that. You don't have to
Yeah.
be fixated in this one idea. And yeah, that's been like so incredibly impactful just for me, like in all areas of my life.
Amazing. Amazing. I love that you share that. And I think that was during some of our projection work where, right, in our community,
Yeah.
we really talk about how well, a few things you mentioned, right? Which is like understanding our own habits, patterns, and tendencies and why they've evolved the way they have, right? To be supportive of us. Everything we do has good intention. Doesn't mean it's working effectively, right? But how can we find that good intention and then really seeing other people in that way, right? That everyone is moving around this earth trying to self-preserve and self-protect. And when we can see that, we can understand people at a different level. So the more we understand our own habits, patterns, and tendencies, the easier it is for us to understand and have compassion for others. Doesn't mean we always
Yeah.
condone their behavior, but we can't control their behavior. So we can control ours and how we react to them. Um, and so that's a lot of the work that we do is also everybody comes with their own, we'll call it agenda, right? About work or about relationships. And the truth is, we're all one person having a multifaceted experience, right? And like you said, like you are a multifaceted, multi-skilled individual, right? You're doing many different things and you're interested in many different things. And so we can't only focus on one part of you, right? It's like we need to focus on all of you because the truth is, if one pattern shows up in your relationship with your grandmother, it's showing up in your other relationships and how you show up for work and how you show up with friends and family and all the things, right? And so, really recognizing the themes of those patterns so we can address it. What you've heard me say is like at the root, right? Because people think they have all of these challenges when in reality, they all kind of wind down into
Hmm.
a couple like root causes and then they're showing up in all of these different ways in their life. But when we address it at the root, all of a sudden everything feels so much more manageable because, oh, there's only one or two things that I'm really working on instead of 100 different habits, patterns, or tendencies or behaviors that I'm trying to address. Right. And so I think your story touched on a lot of that, which is also how can we use our experience with other people to show us where our growth is. Right. And I think even with your grandmother, um, we use the idea of like she's not tapping into her support, right? Or like she's not being open
Hmm.
with us about how she needs support. And then it was like, well,
Hmm.
Vanessa, how are you doing that? Right?
Yeah.
And and that's what becomes eye-opening. And it's like, oh, when we can be compassionate and understanding with ourselves around why we're showing up that way, it's so much easier to see someone in our sphere with compassion and understanding and show up in a different way that actually makes the relationship more effective. And I think to me, that's so empowering because it's like when we can bring it back to us, that's all we have control over. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, if I'm not the victim to these relationships or my experience anymore, that's where my power lies. And if I can take ownership of how I show up or how I can even use this experience to support my growth, like that just feels really empowering to me.
Yeah, I agree. It really is easier. Like you said, it's easier to just go internal and figure out like how I'm reacting and or the root of like what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
a lot easier than having to try and figure out a million different answers or a million different reactions or all the external like people and triggers and things like that. It's easier to go internal, I think. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and I think it's easier and I think people can resist it because it feels big, right? But
Yeah.
when you go there, life just starts to make so much more sense.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing was available to you, right, in doing
Yeah.
that work. And I love that it stayed with you. And I think that's something that I'm really passionate about is like these tools, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but these tools are so versatile, right? And the tools that
Mhm.
you learned, you can apply anywhere in your life. And to any circumstance, to yourself, to other people, to relationships, to work. And they're really broad, which is what makes them so accessible and what makes it so amazing because it's not like, oh, for this experience, you need to do this. And for this experience, you need to do this. It's like the tools that you receive in this space are sustainable and long lasting, and you can use them like throughout your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear. I mean, I hear you're still using them, which is amazing, and I'd love to hear how you feel about that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And one of the as you were talking, I was thinking about sort of like I guess the tools I use the most, or like the one
Yeah,
that became most apparent to me. And it became very apparent to me too, like so you sort of touched on this too, how the way we show up in one area is the way that we show up in another area. And something I've worked on a lot since moving is I don't know what specific tool it is. Maybe it's the compassion, but it's like I've realized that I show up in work and in relationships in very similar manners where I'm like trying to do everything and trying to like sort of please everyone around me. I guess it's very, very people pleasing
yeah,
type situation. And once I sort of picked up on that, that I'm doing the same thing like in work that I'm doing in relationships, that just made it like very clear. So it's like it's only one thing I need to sort of like it's not only one thing, but like in instances where I'm
yeah,
dealing with these like feelings of inferiority or like feeling like I need to prove myself or like I need to go above and beyond in certain situations, I can just
yeah,
sort of like pause literally and like I hear these thoughts and I can sort of like pause now that I recognize the pattern and like
mhm,
tell myself like a lot of it's rewiring too. Like
yeah,
the tools you learn about the tools, at least for me, I learned about the tools, but it doesn't mean that they like click like on day one. Like a lot of it's like the
totally.
practicing of like the rewiring. So now I think I'm in a space where I'm like I'm feeling how some of the rewirings becoming more just like a natural, like some it does depend on the day,
Oh,
like my body, my stressors, things like that. But it's
yeah,
like it's so amazing to be like, oh, okay, like I don't like someone asked me to do XYZ, I don't have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, Z. Like I can just,
Right.
like I can do what's asked of me and like that's enough. Or I can just be in a space and like that's enough. I don't have to prove myself or like make the other person feel comfortable. So yeah, like recognizing that pattern, and then now like consciously knowing that I can rewire it. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like now subconsciously just doing it on its own after like months of practicing it more.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, there's so much of what we do, it is based in practice, right? Because our subconscious has been created, however old everyone is, right, at different stages of their experience. We've been moving through those similar patterns, habits, and tendencies for decade after decade after decade, right? And so we it does take practice to do something different. And I also love that what I hear from you is like the work we did together, right? And you were in the Empowered Woman, which is 4 months, right? So the work we did together in that space really cracked you open to be able to access the level of awareness you need to continue to practice, right? And to continue to show up using those tools and tapping into those practices. And I always say, right, the expectation isn't that I think a lot of people who tap into support think that support will end or that there's like an end to your growth. And in my own
Mhm.
personal growth journey, I mean, I always have a coach, right? All of my clients know this, right? For different things because it just supports us in cutting the learning curve, keeping us accountable, and keeping us held to the practice, right? And at every new level, there's something new that's available to you at that level, right? Or there's another layer or another thread that we can pull out and remove or heal or upgrade. And it's like we didn't even know that was available until we got to this new level. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's like it's a lifelong practice of oh, here's something that, because we're humans having a human experience. So we're going to get triggered. We're going to have experiences. We're going to have stressors in our lives. We're going to have loss. We're going to have grief. We're going to have opportunities that challenge us and like challenge the status quo, like you, right? And I think to me, that's what's so beautiful about this work is that it's really just about closing that gap between having an activating experience and coming to an empowered choice of how we're going to move forward in that experience. And it's like
Mhm.
the more we do the work and the longer we practice it, the shorter those gaps become. Right. And so it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, there may be some people pleasing happening and you notice it and now you're doing something about it. Right. And so like we just keep pulling at those layers. And yeah, I think it's so beautiful that you've continued to do that and continue to bring it into all aspects of your life. And I also just hear like it creates a deeper relationship with yourself, right? And
Yeah.
it's like the more you understand yourself, what do you get out of that? Like you tell me, what do you
Yeah.
get out of those conversations with you?
Yeah. It's funny you asked that because I just made like an Instagram carousel this morning
Oh,
about this. Yeah. And it was about like the more I get to know myself, the deeper I can connect with other people.
hmm
And that's been like really amazing to me. Yeah, like the more I learn about myself, the more I trust myself, the more I figure out why I show up in certain situations, especially like social, with other people. It's just, I guess I'm repeating what you're saying, but like the more I learn about myself, the more I trust myself, and then the more I can like figure out like, oh, well, why did I react to that person saying that? Or like, why did I react to yeah, like that environment? Like being in Spain and being in a new country, everything
yeah,
is new. Like literally every part of my life is new. So there's been so many
totally.
triggers, and there's been a lot of times where I'm just like I've had sort of like some insecurities about like, well, why would this person react to me like this, or why, why like that, or like
Mhm.
why, but like again, like sort of flipping it and being like looking internally and being like, oh, well, why am I reacting to that person like this way?
Yeah,
It's been so helpful. I'm so glad that I did this experience before moving abroad.
Mhm.
Because I think I mean it would be extremely difficult to have not and just have been really like it's interesting how you can be like there's a difference in like looking internally but also being like stuck internally. So like I guess that's like the difference between like reflecting but then also like really bottled up. Um,
Yeah,
but I'm so glad I had this experience before I moved because I know that being in a new place, it's very triggering. Like everything is different, but
yeah,
fortunately, I have these tools that I can use to figure out why I am reacting that way. And also just like allow myself to feel the things too. Like that was a big part of like our work together too, is like I can just feel it and I don't have to like immediately change it. Like if I'm scared, if I'm sad, I've been sad so many days because I'm like, what am I doing? Like, where am I? But like,
yeah,
that's okay. Like, it's okay to feel that sadness.
yeah.
So now I'm like rambling. I hope I'm answering the
Not at
question, but
all. No, you're doing
yeah.
amazing. And I think something I want to reflect from what you shared, which is so important for people to hear, is, I don't know if people are watching this or they're listening to it, but like Vanessa has been all smiles since we've gotten on the call because she just got back from an amazing trip to Morocco and she's like living her best life. And she said she has sad days. And I think something that's really
Mhm.
important for people to recognize is so often people are not allowing their feelings. And that doesn't just limit the undesired feelings like sadness, grief, overwhelm, stress. It also limits their ability to be happy and to live into their joy and their pleasure and their, yeah, just happiness, right? And it's
Yeah.
like when you allow yourself to have the sad days, you're letting your nervous system know it's safe to feel, period, right?
Yeah.
Because when we tell ourselves it's not safe to feel, we'll call them bad feelings or undesired feelings, we're just telling our nervous system it's not safe to feel. So that means when you go on your trip to Morocco, like you've allowed yourself to feel sadness, it means you can allow yourself to feel those moments where you're feeling connected, where you're loving being in Spain, where like this feels like you're living your best life, right? And you feel connected or you're enjoying the weather or whatever it is. Because you've allowed yourself to feel on those hard days, your nervous system is being taught that it is safe to feel all the feelings, which opens you up to feeling all the good feelings too, right?
Yeah.
At a
Yeah.
deeper level. So not only does it let you connect with yourself at a deeper level, but I hear you said it's allowing me to connect with others on a deeper level and to keep showing up for connection with other people. Because I could also hear a lot of people that are not Vanessa and haven't practiced these tools that it's like, oh, things are scary. It's overwhelming to move to a new place. Everything is different. I'm just going to isolate because it doesn't feel safe to continue to show up for these uncomfortable experiences. Whereas
Yeah.
you are saying, like, I have an uncomfortable experience. I look at it, I reflect on it, and I keep showing up, right? And it's like that's what's allowing you to be successful and to have a good experience here. Is that like you're
Mhm.
not isolating because of the sad days or the challenging moments, right? You are processing it, you're being with it, and you're continuing to show up for the good that is still available here to you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Beautifully
I'm
said.
like
That's exactly
celebrating
it.
you,
Yeah.
Vanessa. Like you're doing
Yes.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank
Go
you. Thank
girl.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear, well, what feels like the next step for you, right? We just talked about like every time you hit a new level, it's like, oh, what else is more available to me now that I'm in this place of feeling empowered, of choosing a life that feels more aligned for me. What maybe feels more possible to you from this place than felt possible a year ago?
Yeah. What feels more possible is that right now, I have this perspective of, why not me? And I have sort of some goals in terms of like the next 5 years of my career and what I want my life to look like. And I just, for like literally the first time in my life, feel like I'm like, wait, no, like why not me? Like I can do these things. And I think that especially a year ago, there's still a lot of fear there, right? Like I don't have the plan figured out. And I think that's the biggest difference. Like last year, if I didn't have the plan, I would just wouldn't have even tried. And right
Yeah.
now, I still don't, the next steps are not like super clear. Maybe like the next like one step is, but the next
Yeah.
like two, three, four, five aren't. But I have enough confidence and like trust with myself and just to know that like I can like seriously dream big and like I can like I know it sounds crazy, but I'm like that's how I feel. I'm like I can literally like I just have to try, like put myself out there and if you know one step leads this way and it leads that way, like again, like I'm still moving, whether or not it's lateral or up and down.
Yeah.
And yeah, last year I didn't have that kind of like just the big perspective that I have
Yeah.
in terms like optimism and yeah, I guess like optimism, faith, trust, without having to, I guess that's faith, without having to know what the next step looks like.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Amazing. Amazing. And I think, I hear it a lot when people are like, this sounds crazy. And I
right.
think I'd like to hear more about that because I think it sounds crazy because if you think about, and you have been practicing work outside of our work together, but if you think about the shift that happens in 4 months or even less time, because you
Mhm.
got like some quick awarenesses and insights, timing's different for everyone, but pretty early on in those 4 months together. Um, I think sometimes it feels like it's crazy, but to me, I'm like, I think it feels crazy to other people because people think it takes a long time or forever to like shift a habit, a pattern, a behavior. And some people don't even think it's possible, right? And so I'd like to hear more about like why you think it sounds crazy. Um, and I validate the idea that it sounds crazy and that it is totally possible because look, you did it. And just like you use other people as examples, that's why we're sharing your story with others so that they can see that it is possible for them and it's not crazy because there are there are success leaves clues. It's like there are ways to get there that are strategic and intentional. And it's just about tapping into that strategy, those resources, the spaces that are going to provide that to you. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about like the idea that it's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny. You know, maybe I'm like, oh, maybe that's a limiting belief. Because I'm like saying like, yeah, it sounds crazy, but I guess I say that because it feels maybe not it's maybe it's a change in my the way my mind is working in terms of like
Mhm.
what's available to me and I feel that anything I put my mind to can be available to me, so like maybe not in this instant like right now but like in a week or in 2 weeks or like you know in an hour.
Yeah,
So it just it feels that whatever I have the trust that whatever I put my mind to, whatever
yeah,
I desire, like what my like you touched on it before, like what my like body or my spirit is like yearning for, like I'm listening to that voice a lot more. And
amazing.
I think in a world too where especially like we're not really like empowered to like go internal, right? Like at
Mhm.
least I wasn't exposed to a lot of that before, like that like mindset. So it feels I say it feels crazy or sounds crazy because it's just different from what I've been exposed to. And but now it's like, wait, no, like if I put my mind to it, like I literally like I can do it. And it feels good to tell to say these things out loud too, because you know, like some days I have a lot of fear, like some days
Mhm.
I'm like super like, okay, I got this. And other days I'm like, oh, like how, you know, how? Like it's not super clear to me right now. But like because I desire it and I want it, like I feel it in my body and
Yeah,
I have a vision of me doing it. And so for that, I'm going to follow that. I'm gonna
yeah,
follow what my body and my heart is telling me. And I'm gonna be more focused on that and less focused on what I think externally has been maybe like placed on me or like what other people I think I, you know it's a lot of like following what other people are doing, like following other
Totally.
people's career successes, like what our parents have done, what our friends are doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just am like, wait, like, but I want to do this. Like, and if I feel it in my body and it feels really good, like trusting that, like it does not feel good in my body to do this, but it feels, and like you said, it's like everyone has a different sort of like internal compass and guide.
Yeah.
But if I'm like put faith in what does feel good, like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. And I think it's so important to recognize oftentimes we think our like the sensations we're feeling are not us, right? Or like
Hmm.
not our internal compass, or they need to be different. And so much of what you've shared today about what's changed for you is using those feelings and sensations as a compass for where's my growth? Where's my challenge? How can I look at this differently? How can I be with this? How can I lean into my desire to live a different life that's more aligned for me? And I think that's why I love your story so much and I celebrate you so much. I'm so inspired by you and to share you and your experience with other people because um, we are never void of fear, right? It's just or that is what bravery and courage is, right? It's like moving forward in
Hmm.
spite of it,
Yeah,
and being with those parts of ourselves, the fear, to understand why are you present and what do you need, right? And then how can I move forward in support of the part of me that is needing some safety or needing some security or needing a level of understanding to take the next step, but not to let fear freeze us or not let us move forward, right? And so I think that is something to celebrate, like celebrate yourself for, is that like, yeah, sad days come, fear happens. We're human beings having a human experience. Big surprise, these emotions are present. And
hmm,
we're empowered enough and have resources and tools we can tap into to support us to move through those days and to move through those challenges and to continue to strive for the aligned life that you want. So I'm just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Vanessa, you're amazing. You're doing so beautiful.
Well, oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I'm like, you're, the way you're talking now, I'm like locked in, like you're coaching me like again right now. It's like I wouldn't have been able to tap into these things unless I had like put myself in a situation to be able to like to work with someone and like take this into. So I, have to say thank you to you.
Yeah, well, you're so welcome. It's been such an honor. I'd love to hear, yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say to someone who, is maybe thinking of having a conversation with me or stepping into my community, my world. Um, yeah, what would you say to them about your experience, about saying
Yeah.
yes, leaning in?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
The advice I would give is that um, one, to do it, just do it, but also like you don't have to do things alone. And I think that, as you were talking to, a big fear of mine is asking people for help and showing that I need help and like that whole like vulnerability piece of it. But we don't have to do things alone, and actually life is a lot easier when we do put ourselves in opportunities to learn from other people or like just share and like be vulnerable. I loved our program too, working with other women. Like I think the group aspect of me was for me was also very helpful, just to be in a group with people who are just like, oh, we have similar fears or similar like goals or similar dreams and things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, life is just easier when you allow yourself to be in community and learn from other people. And we don't have to do things on our own. And I'm like so happy that I'm like learning that. I'm literally like being coached right now because I have to ask someone for a favor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the fear is there, but the fear is not going to go away. Like I still need to like
Mhm.
I got to do it. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's we don't have to do things alone.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I think so often, I mean, from being in my community, like the women in the space, they are like strong, independent, driven
Yeah,
women, and they have done a lot alone, right?
yeah,
And moved a lot alone. And I also just the way I see receiving support, right? Getting guidance, is having a guide, right? Is cutting the learning curve, right? So like
Yeah.
for those who are driven and ambitious and want more, and I'm one of those people too, it's like, oh, if I do this, it means I actually get to my goal faster. It means I get to cut the learning curve. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. Like we just know what we know and don't know what we don't know, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's so great to, yeah, have that growth mindset of like, if I want something else and I haven't gotten there yet, how can I learn and be supported for someone else to crack me open? Because the truth is, like, you get to take credit for the changes you made in your life. And I get to show up and show you what is possible for you, right? I think one of the things that I love so much about the work I do is that I see you. I've always seen you as this Vanessa, right? Or like your next level Vanessa, that this space was available to you, and I get to hold that vision for you, while you crack open to seeing it for yourself. And I think doing that, like you said, in community is so beautiful because we get to recognize that we aren't alone in those feelings that we have or those patterns or tendencies that we share with other people. And as we do the work together, we get to take feedback of what worked for you, and here's what worked for me, and here's what I'm going through. And it allows us to move so much faster with support. And so to me, I'm like, yes to all the support because I want to move faster, right? Like I want to get
Hmm.
to that version of me faster. And so that's really how I see it is like it's just a way to cut the learning curve. That's
Yeah.
what not doing it alone is about, right? And like we don't have
Yeah.
to, and it's such a joy to get to do it with other people too.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. It's a beautiful, like, I think the word is symbiotic, like relationship just between like
Yeah.
pouring, receiving. It's really, really incredible once you allow yourself to step into it.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Anything else that you want to share, Vanessa, about you, your experience, anything else?
Um, I think, oh man, we said a lot. I can't, I literally, I speak about the program to everyone that I can speak about it with. Like, I'm like, yeah, I work with a coach. I work with a coach. And so I'm trying to think, I just would encourage anyone who is considering it or like just curious about it. I had been curious for maybe a few years, a few months about working with a coach. And just what was exposed to me was something that like you touched on earlier, is like it's a thing that I can carry with me like continually. So like there are tools that I can continue to reflect back on. Life is going to continue to give us new challenges. Like the more things we're exposed to, the more people we meet as each day goes by. And yeah, it just was a wonderful investment in myself and something that I know, I mean, it already has, and it will continue to pay off,
Mhm.
just in terms of like what it's giving to me. So I'm so happy I did it, and I really would recommend anyone. I'm like, I really try not to talk to everyone about it. I'm like, work with a coach, or like, like go inward, allow someone else to like, you know, hear you and like give you tools and resources to get where you want to go. It's really, really healing. And maybe one more thing too is that one thing I think we said this a lot. A lot of the work is like it's internal, it's
Yeah.
inward. So it's not about getting answers from another person. Like I don't, we like you gave me a lot of tools and like that led to answers. And
Right.
you asked me a lot of things that allowed me to figure out the answers. But it's very different than like going to someone and being like, "Hey, Krista, what should I do with the rest of my life?" Like, it's very like deep work that can like just change your life, really change your life. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Vanessa. And I think that's really the intention, right? Is that you come to your own clarity and understanding because we don't want to create dependency, right? We want to build independence and we want to build your accessibility to your truth and your intuition and your insight. And so, That's very intentional, right? That like I don't give answers
Hmm. Hmm.
because my answer might be different than your answer, and that might not be what you need. And so I think that's what's so powerful is that it really is about guiding you home to yourself so that you can support yourself. And in doing so, that's what's built your self-trust, right? And your
Yeah.
self-confidence to know that you're capable to answer your questions, to go within, to be curious, to get to that next step of like, what is the next action? So it's very intentional that I will not be answering your questions directly
Yes.
about what I think you should do. Um,
Yeah.
because, yeah, we all know ourselves better than anyone else knows us, and we want to
Yeah.
lean into being practicing how we be our own guidance systems.
Yeah.
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 So beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing and for being
Yeah.
with me today. It was so great to be with you. Um, Anything else before we?
No, that's it. I cannot say thank you enough. I cannot recommend the program or working with you more. It was an incredible opportunity, and I encourage anyone who is considering to take the next step and get involved.
Amazing. Thank you, Vanessa.